Okay, so my name's Seaton. I'm VP of Business Development here at ulashop.com, and this is our CEO, Harry.
How you doing?
I'm good. All right, so I'm gonna just ask a couple questions. Harry, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we started ulashop.com and what circumstances were leading up to it?
Sure, of course. We actually originally had the idea to start a lingerie e-commerce site actually last year, but some things actually fell through because we planned. So we actually put the project on hold in 2009. A little bit more history about that. We actually run two other companies. One is a boutique tech consulting firm called Common Computing, which provides technology services to small, medium, and large businesses. And then we also have another internet retailer called ushopfast.com, which specializes in computer products and technology. And our family actually owns a big distribution business, and we were actually testing the platform out for them. And the business actually turned out to be really, really good. So we figured, hey, why not try to apply this to other businesses? So laundry was actually just one of those businesses that actually came up. And when we looked at the actual business model itself, there's a couple things we actually really, really liked about the laundry industry. Definitely by far the biggest one was the fact that it's a $30 billion a year industry, and it's extremely fragmented with a couple of well-known name leaders. I'm not going to say who, but the rest of them, there's really just not a big market leader. And on top of this, a big portion of that market is actually mail ordering retail. So we had a really, really good platform. We looked at some of the specifics of the business. There's very, very good margins. And typically the packages are relatively small, so shipping costs are relatively expensive. So we just saw a really, really good opportunity to take the technologies that we've actually developed and actually apply them to this actual business. But one more thing I actually wanted to add to is I actually attend this event called Summit Series, which is a gathering for all really young, successful entrepreneurs. And one of the great things I learned at this event was that you should build some type of social responsibility into your actual corporation. So I actually said for my next company that we started, we want to build social responsibility into the framework of the company.
And so what causes are included in it?
Sure. So two of the causes. One of them I'm going to say is like the F cancer is one of them, and the other one is actually called Invisible Children. And what we actually do for each of these causes is we'll throw fundraisers for them. So for example, one of the events, I'll be talking about that later, we're actually going to be doing a fundraiser. And on top of this too, every single order that comes in, we actually have a portion of the actual amount of the net profits actually go towards a cause. Okay. So that's a little bit more about the company and kind of how we got started. And obviously, you're a good friend of ours, and you had an underwear line called Love's Heaven. So that's actually, so there's basically three friends that kind of came together, and the opportunity was just right in summer of 2010, and we just decided to launch this site, and here we are, we're up and running. We've been up and running for a little while now. So.
Yeah, and it was a fairly quick startup, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. I mean, we took the existing technology that we actually had from the other site, and we were able to get everything up in a relatively short period of time, in 3 weeks. And
would you say that was one of your faster startups?
That's definitely the, I would say, typically the amount of work that we've done in a startup, like where we're at right now, would actually take about a year to a year and a half. So we definitely have an advantage in that we had the right platform, tools, and technology that we had built from other businesses.
And how's the company funded right now?
Well, we're self-funded right now. We have a couple of other businesses that I mentioned before that are actually quite profitable. Plus, we have pretty good financial backing as well. So we're completely self-funded right now. We're not really looking at outside investment, but as the company grows and it scales out, we'll probably be looking at maybe another round of angel, maybe some venture financing. But at this point, it's really too early.
Yeah. And okay, you mentioned an event. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So on October 6, 2010, we decided that we were actually going to do our grand opening launch event. And this event kind of stems, the main reason we're doing this event is actually for a couple of reasons. Actually, probably one of the first main big reasons, it kind of stems back to the event, the Summit Series event. So I would actually tell people about my other two companies, Common Computing and UShopFast, and everybody's just like, oh great, but then there's so many people that actually run tech companies, And then I told them that we're actually working on this project called oolalashop.com.
Now wait, I'm going to cut in for a sec. Do you
Sure.
consider oolalashop.com more of a tech company or more of a fashion retailer?
It's definitely, I would say, a technology company first and a lingerie retailer second. If I was to kind of group those two, because we're very very tech-based company, and we're using almost the same set of technologies that we're using in the computer business to the laundry business. Now, granted, as we kind of scale up a bit more, definitely the focus is going to be
will shift slightly,
it's
right?
it's definitely going to shift because the lingerie industry is the vertical that we're targeting. But as a startup, we're not like your traditional lingerie company where they'll build up a brand first and they'll build up their retail operations first and then consider the internet as kind of their secondary source of revenue.
Yeah.
The internet is our source of revenue, and I think that's where we're either going to be very successful and have a lot of opportunity, or we're not going to have any success at all. I just think it's one of those. Yeah. So I think that's probably the biggest difference between us is we're going after the general population, and with the internet, you can achieve scalability with the internet that you cannot achieve with traditional retail. That's not to say we won't go the traditional retail route after, but right now our core focus is just the internet.
Okay.
And so to go back to that to the story of why we're actually doing the event too is so at this event when I was in Miami, everybody, when I was telling them about my first two companies, they were kind of like, oh, that's great, you know. But everybody else at this event owned a tech company, and they were all doing quite well. So when I told them I actually have a laundry internet startup, everybody just kind of dropped everything and said, oh, could you tell me a little bit more about that? And this company actually hadn't even, this was just actually an idea at the time. It wasn't even an actual business. So, I mean, when you talk to 9 out of 10 people, or sorry, actually in that case, when you talk to 10 out of 10 people, and these are all pretty well successful entrepreneurs, and all of them tell you it's a great idea and they're excited for it, and you know, when can I go to the model photo shoots and whatnot, that's really kind of,
the intangibles that attract.
that's really kind of where I started thinking, wow, this might actually be, it couldn't technically be the next big thing.
Yeah.
Especially for internet retail, because a lot of people haven't done it very well. So that's a little bit more of the story of why we're actually putting on this event, is actually for a lot of our friends, because we're going to have a great sexy lingerie fashion show to showcase 3 brands. And on top of this, we're actually, originally it was supposed to only be a press content event so that we have a lot more information on our internet site, because content was going to drive sales for us on the internet. So we figured, you know, it'd be great. We've all worked hard.
And it's a good opportunity to get the story out to.
It's a great opportunity to get the story out,
both in tech and
in tech and actually in fashion. But I think for all of us too, we've all worked really hard this summer. It's a great way to kind of introduce ourselves to the world, but at the same time have a great time. And actually, what this event's actually turned out, instead of a press event, it's not just a press event and a grand opening launch event. It's actually turned into a fundraiser, which is great because now we're actually going to be raising money for a great cause.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be so much fun. All of our friends are going to have a lot of fun with it, and it's all for a great cause.
Yeah, I mean, and the brands that are involved are all local. And what are the brands? They're Biaboro and.
There's going to be Biaboro, Loves Heaven, of course,
and
then there's Zugari. And that's part of our strategy too. Is we're going after the internet market, but at the same time too, we're developing relationships with a lot of local brands and vendors to give them actual exposure. So that's another nice thing that the internet actually provides that traditional retail doesn't, is now we're basically giving the traditional smaller retailers that might have great product, but they don't have necessarily the reach that we have to actually sell the product.
Cool. Well, and some of the sponsors for the event, you want to...
Oh, we've got a great list of sponsors. I've got to thank my friends over at the Sea Sky Group. They gave us this venue called The Forum. It's on Gravel Street. It's the best sports bar in the Lower Mainland. Bar, and they've got, I think, like 40 plasma TVs. It's a huge venue. The 2010 Olympics were done there. One of the main venues for hockey. You know, that's where I watched the game with Team Canada.
Yeah, and it's really well. It's very
very well known. And those guys, they've been running. They run some of the best operations in Vancouver. You know, they own O-Bar, they own Tonic, and I have a very good relationship with them. So for them to actually offer us the venue is great. Some of our other sponsors include Bacardi and Red Bull, Bacardi, Red Bull, and Grey Goose, which is awesome. So for all of our corporate business contacts and everything, they're gonna have a great
Couple of
time.
cocktails.
They're gonna get all the cocktails. Another good friend of mine that owns Charm Thai Modern Bistro, they're gonna be sponsoring the event as well. So I mean, and there's a couple of sponsors.
And Todd over at Westport.
Yeah, Todd and
Todd.
Todd over at Westport Motor Cars. They're gonna have a couple of nice cars for us over the event, and there's probably a whole list of other sponsors.
For sure.
We're actually still working on getting a few more sponsors for the event.
So why don't you just recap when and where is the event taking
The event's going to be on Wednesday, October 6th of 2010. It's going to be at the Forum on Granville Street, and it's going to be from 5 to 10. And we might do an after party. I don't know. It's
We'll
on
see-
a
we'll
Wednesday.
see where
But
the
we'll see
night-
kind of where the night takes
Yeah,
us.
perfect. All right, Harry. Thanks
Okay.
very much.
Thanks, Ami.